Evet, herkese iyi akşamlar. Bugün
Good
23
evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is April 23rd. First of all, if we may take the chance to welcome all those, especially from Turkey, we'd like to celebrate your national sovereignty and Children's Day, April 23rd, the national holiday. And we will be addressing a very important topic today. And as ORSAM, the Center for Middle Eastern Studies, we're following the developments very closely, and both from Baghdad and Erbil, and from the academics from ORSAM, we're welcoming them, and we will be hearing their speeches and their views. And we will be talking about President Erdogan's visit to Iraq and its reflections. And if I make an English announcement, there is simultaneous translation right now.
Welcome to our meeting. If you want to follow our meeting in English, please choose the Zoom platform. If you can pass to choose, if you can pass to Zoom, if you can follow via Zoom, you can listen in English. Maybe we can wait some seconds, and then we can start to our meeting. Evet, şöyle bir 10 saniye daha bekleyelim. Belki
If we may wait for another 10 minutes for the participants to select the English language. And right now there is a simultaneous English translation continuing, and the participation here, the number of the participants, both from Zoom and YouTube, is quite well attended, and those individuals and guests of ours following us, probably we will be welcoming them soon as well. If I may give you some details about our session and today's event. After 13 years, we know that President Erdogan's visit is of crucial importance. This has been of great importance. The bilateral meetings have been made, and on a number of 26 topics, there have been some memorandum of understandings that have been signed. And after Baghdad, Erbil was also visited, during which there were very important outputs, very important steps. And from the central, from Baghdad and Erbil, we have participants here, and where panelists are here, and they have been very closely following all the developments. They're academicians, and we'd like to welcome them. We have our distinguished panelists, both from Baghdad and from Erbil, and who have been following the developments very closely. And there have been some agreements that we have with the representatives here, the panelists, and Nahrain, with the organization of Nahrain, and Naramsi is the think tank. We have been coordinating with them in Baghdad. We had organized and we have established the think tank organization in Baghdad, which will also continue taking some more concrete steps in Rudo, will be there with us. So director of Research Center is here with us as well, Mr. Zirjan. Now let's start. First, talking about what this visit means from the viewpoint of Turkey, because there have been some expectations, certainly, when it comes to some certain and concrete steps, when it comes to PKK and the development projects and many more other steps. And let's start with the expectations of Turkey. How did Turkey come to the current point, and what is the current expectation, and has the visit been providing for the expectations by Turkey? And we've been working closely with our esteemed panelist Feyzullah Tuna Aygün from ORSAM, Iraq Studies expert he is, and we have been also on the site with him, and we've been working with him closely as well. Every speaker, every panelist will be here given a total number of 15 minutes. We will also have Q&A. And right now, it is 10 past 8 p.m. Now, for about 15 minutes, we'll be giving the floor to Mr. Feyzullah Tuna Aygün from ORSAM Iraq Studies expert. Thank you for this floor. And before I start, I would like to begin by means of congratulating our national holiday, April 23rd of National Sovereignty and Children's Day. This is of critical importance, and today is also very important as we will be focusing on the reflections uh, as a result of President Erdoğan's visit after 13 years. And once we take a look at the high and senior level meeting, it's been even more. There has elapsed more time. It's been such a long time at such senior level, but at the senior level of president's visit, there has earlier occurred some expectation. So in the last year, in 2023 and 2024, there have been some plans, and the infrastructure of this visit has already started being prepared. So within 2024, we have seen the visit was also on its way, and with the completion of the files and with the precursor meetings, the prior prerequisites have been also completed. And 22nd of April, we have seen that there was a visit, a daily visit, and although it was for one day, for both Baghdad and in Erbil, because it included visiting Baghdad and Erbil, it is of crucial importance. It means a lot. From the viewpoint of Turkey, from Turkey's perspective, meetings, there were a number of meetings. It wasn't limited down to one, but it was enriched with a variety of spectrum of topics. But the most important and the highest priority was the counterterrorism efforts. And as we know, in the last couple of months by Iraq, PKK was announced as the banned terrorist organization. And this by itself, this recognition has initiated a process from the viewpoint of Turkey, the PKK, so this has created the expectation of the establishment of joint mechanism for counterterrorism efforts, joint counterterrorism efforts. So this is the first expectation of the highest priority. And this visit, the outputs of this visit, the very next day is when we start taking a look and having a deep dive into the results, but it's not quite possible to reach such quick conclusion because a variety of different topics on a total number of 26 topics, we will be evaluating them in a TV program. The speaker in the TV programs, there was a question on the TV program. The question was, in fact, I was also there to answer I'm also here to answer this question of will the concrete steps taken for each and every of these 26 from health, transportation and security, economy, trade, commerce. This covers a variety of different topics. Will each and every one of these topics cover same amount of progress, do you think? So there was a question, but let me answer this, that it is possible. So the next coming days will certainly make it clear, especially counterterrorism efforts, joint efforts, how these steps can be shaped. I think this will be more prominent in terms of its concrete conclusions. I think we will see this happening. On the other hand, the second and one of the other high priority topics is the development road project. There is a memorandum of understanding that's been signed. In fact, it's with four countries. It's Qatar, and so it is the development. It starts from the port, and it covers from the Persian Gulf to Turkey and to the Europe as well, because it covers a large geographical region. That's why the other countries will also be included, and we will see that And we have already seen that the other countries, the four countries, and the other countries will be taking some steps for this. This is of pleasing nature, and this strategic development road project is also redesigning the development of the Iraqi-Turkish relations in a new dynamic method, because it will be a renewal. It gives its momentum. It's not only about the railway or the highway. It's not about the network. It's not limited down to this, but it is beyond these. It's a win-win, and it's quite. It will be taking the relations to further developed and improved level, and also the improvement and this establishment of this project will bring along with itself the security issues, because on the route of strategic development road project, providing for security is another file, because elimination of the terrorism and terrorist components is certainly answering the needs and expectations by Turkey. And I believe that this is answering the expectations, the development dynamic here, and this will bring along itself a restructuring, because we know that there's this petroleum income is quite high. However, they will be also designing their future with the income from this development road project as well. In the bilateral meetings yesterday, the development road project has been named as one of the most important files. We have seen this. Another topic is, from the viewpoint of Turkey, is the trade. And here we see that the trade volume, the expectation is that the trade volume will be increased from the 20 billion US dollar to up to 25 billion US dollar. And how could this be made possible? Then we need to connect this with the other topics, especially in the northern part of Iraq. The terrorist PKK presence will be given an end. The fact that this will be eliminated, this will also trigger a process of a chain of investment on many other sectors, and this will invite and this will be charming for the Turkish construction sectors or other services. So the investment process will be also initiated here with the elimination of PKK, like the development and facilities, and it will create employment. Also, one of the other topic is the water issues. And as we know, in Turkey, Iraq's needs certainly are appreciated and understood by Turkey. So it's not like a discussion on, it's like a discussion on a resource that does not exist there. So because Erdoğan has mentioned that and has highlighted the importance of efficient use of water sources, and this is also very closely linked with security issues, especially irrigation infrastructure and modernization of the irrigation infrastructure and modernization process will be also launched, along with the stability being achieved, which is a result of security issues being addressed in full. And in addition to these, when it comes to security, because it almost like it cross-cuts all the other sectors, all the other topics. So security issues may either accelerate or may hinder some of the other steps. That's why I'd like to turn back to this topic. PKK or NATO organizations, terrorist organizations, is not a problem limited down to Turkey. So to stop these terrorist organizations becoming and setting an important problem for Iraq. And there was the second security summit. These were also mentioned. The Iraqi officials, it's obvious that I understand and I personally believe that the Iraqi officials have grasped and have completely appreciated the importance of the establishment of full security for Iraqi interests as well. In health sector, there have been some agreements signed. It's quite comprehensive, a diplomatic mission here that's been continuing. And as a result of this diplomatic relation and this visit, so the bilateral diplomatic relations and the other concrete sector between the sectors of the two countries, we've seen that there is a strategic framework is also formed. And certainly because of this, there will be some challenges. Both of the countries, they have displayed political will. Based on this, I can say that Turkish and Iraqi relations will be talked about much more frequently with concrete outputs. This is what we expect and I expect as well. As you sort of wrap it up, if you could
Buyurun.
also
Üzerini
answer
toparlarken
this point. As far as I understand, there are three topics. There are three priorities set by Turkey: counterterrorism, joint efforts, development project, development road projects, and water. So, do you think that these concrete expectations have been completely seen by Iraq? I think it's quite early for us to answer this question. However, so what do you think? What have you concluded based on the first initial outlook? For instance, Prime Minister Sudani, as far as I could understand, he has mentioned about the counterterrorism joint efforts. This was mentioned,
yönelik bir
but
bir
Prime Minister Sudani,
katkısının olmaması açıkçası
in
bence
fact,
biraz sınayan faktörlerden bir tanesiydi.
he hasn't mentioned about PKK on during his speech. And Erdoğan, during his press release, he has also mentioned
açıklamasını, tanımasını
his expectation from Iraq on their official announcement that they recognize and label PKK as a terrorist organization. So he has underlined the importance of this. So we have participants here from Iraq, and maybe they will be also evaluating this. But Prime Minister Sudani has also some challenges in front of him. And maybe the fact that he has not mentioned about PKK during his speech, especially under the Turkey's legitimate defense, as has been defined within the UN rules. I think this has been quite unclearly understood and clearly appreciated by Iraqi officials. The fact that PM Sudani has not mentioned about this PKK during his speech, for instance, although not at the level of counterterrorism joint operations, but if not operations, it could be some information changing, and it could be starting from a point where it is of a supportive nature. I believe that they could take the ownership of this at the level of information changing and information exchange. And the most important expectation was that the elimination of PKK from Sinjar. And as far as I understand, back in 2019, there was this Sinjar agreement. It's still has not yet been put into practice in full. Although the officials have stated their will to put and exercise this agreement on the field, we see that there has not been seen some changes on the site because the concrete existence, PKK existence, is still continuing. And in Baghdad, the PKK existence has been limited there. So there, once we take a look at the whole picture, maybe the Turkish public, it's not in the speed as expected and as hoped by the Turkish public, but we believe, and I believe, that there will be a stance against PKK, because this will certainly be contributing positively to their future's vision and the link that Iraq will have with Turkey will be through Sinjar, and Sinjar is a region where PKK can show and displays its existence. Although they do not believe in that PKK may not be a terrorist organization, in order to increase their non-oil income, they will need to see this from that perspective as well. Although Turkey's expectation is not fully met, I believe Iraq will start seeing the importance and will take the due steps. Thank you so much, Mr. Tunan. And now I would like to now make a quick summary. And as Tuna has stated, one of them is PKK, expectations related with PKK. And I also agree with him that PKK expectation has not yet been met, and the economy-related steps is constituting the most important part of this also this visit, and this is a regional importance as well. It's not only the UAE and Qatar and the 4 countries that we have mentioned earlier, because this is a model, this is a regional development model that's been planned. So there are 4 countries, including UAE and Qatar and Iraq. And certainly, in addition to this, there are the water-related expectations too, and initiatives by Turkey. Some initiatives have been also left to Iraq. So how does the view look from Baghdad? So what is Baghdad's perspective and Baghdad's expectations? The people, the nation, the Iraqi political groups, how do they view this visit? How their expectations are being shaped? Now this will be the topic on this. And the Sunnite and Turkmen groups, I think President Erdoğan has sat down and had some photographs with Sunnites, Sunnis, separate than that of the other picture and photo by Turkmens. This was also on the media, Iraqi media and Iraqi public view. And we will be hearing this from Hüseyin Arslan, and he's the head of economic department of the Al Nahrain Center for Strategic Studies in Baghdad. It's reporting to Baghdad, and it's one of the most institutionalized think tank, especially when it comes to the trade volumes. I think this will be also scrutinized by Hüseyin. I'm also looking forward to hearing Hüseyin's point of view. Hüseyin, it is 8:30, and we will be listening to you until 20:45. Thank you so much for your participation in advance. Thank you. The floor is yours. First of all, if I may start by celebrating the Turkish national holiday regarding the 23rd April for the National Sovereignty and Children's Day. And this is an online event and session organized by ORSAM, Center for Middle Eastern Studies. And I'd like to also extend my gratitude to my colleagues. This visit is of critical importance for the Iraqi public. There are 2 points that I'd like to see. what is the Iraqi public's and people's perspective, and how does it look, and the perspective by the Iraqi state? And after 13 years, such agreements being signed is of critical importance from the viewpoint of the Iraqi state. And this has been welcomed by the people as well. And this has been welcomed as an opportunity for economic development opportunity. And so this is a project along with itself bringing some security as well. Iraq and some other countries' involvement here is certainly a good step promising security for development. As the PM, Sudani, has presented this project, and it also is of value. And PKK being recognized, I think it looks as in the first phase, we see that it's the banned organization, and the second phase, I think this needed to be taken into consideration in the agreement as well. Well, Turkey will be there to hopefully help on that as well. These are the expectations. Right now, the Iraqi people's reaction to this meeting and this visit is quite warm, especially the pact and the agreement. There would be 40, in fact, memorandum of understanding, but it ended up being with I think 16 memorandum of understandings were also being expected to be signed, but no. Is it the water related? Is the water? They thought that the water issue has been also scrutinized, and when it comes to the water-related expectations, once we take a look at the memorandum of understanding on water-related steps, it's on a general framework. Joint, it's not about how much the sides would, but Turkish approach here has been on the preparation of the infrastructure, ensuring that the water is supplied in a proper way. And when it comes to water expectation by the Iraqi people, so within the 10-year, sometimes they ask the question of why the time has not been clearly. I'm sorry, we couldn't quite understand this. Could you repeat this? When it comes to water, there is a 10-year agreement. So at the end of 10 years, so the time duration here is limited down to 10 years. So at the end of the 10th year, then this can be extended, provided that the parties are in full agreement. Once we study the details of the articles here, the benefiting part here is Turkey, because all the structure, the watering and the irrigation infrastructure, the sewage, the pipes, all these are to be undertaken by the Turkish construction company. So it seems that 60% of this agreement, so in terms of the beneficial percentage here is higher on the Turkish part as the 60%. So Turkey says that I will be providing you water, but as to how much I will, to what extent I will provide it. For instance, if it's raining, then I will be providing it to you, but if it doesn't rain, I will kind of arrange it. So there is a question mark over there. So there is a concern that arises there. So the second point is the development project. Certainly, it's of great value for Iraqi people, the railway, the highway, and the transport here. The Iraq turns into a strategic path here. So, and a connection to Europe is there through the Gulf, starting from the Gulf till London, through Turkey via Turkey, and this is of critical importance. For many years, they've been working on the completion of this agreement. It's just that this looks like a good framework, and there are four countries: Iraq, Turkey, Qatar, and UAE. And once these four parties have signed, have included in this, so it's Qatar and UAE's involvement in this. How is it perceived by the Iraqi people? Quite warmly. This is quite welcomed. So, as you know, Iraqi politicians and in Iraqi politics, it's sometimes is disturbed by the Gulf interventions. Sometimes Qatar could be supporting some of the groups, and there have been some groups that have been supported by UAE. However, this will be bringing, once there's an agreement on the side, and this will ensure stability. Once we are in this project, and once everyone and every party is also part of this agreement, they will be watching for their interest as well, which is the economic welfare. That's why the Iraqi people have been welcoming this four countries' inclusion in this. Another very important topic is coming after this agreement, right after this agreement, all these memorandum of understanding on a total number of 26 topics. Will this be feasible? Will this be put into concrete topics? As we know, in the Marrakesh term between Turkey and Iraq, there was a strategic agreement signed as well. And there were meetings three times, perhaps in Baghdad once and twice in Ankara. And Haydar Abari, I think it was in the term of Haydar Abari, and also in another government term. Up until throughout this 13 years, despite the fact that this strategic agreement has been signed, none of the articles have been put into practice. As you may also recall, once we get together, let me say it, how can I put it? How can I quite put it? Let me remember it. I'm trying to remember it. The agreement included, I think this was Hamadi. Because of the water was not included in the agreement was the reason, as has been mentioned. So, as a result of the latest agreements, because it includes water, I'm only trying to share the public's view. All these negotiations in the parliaments, will these be approved by both parliaments? As far as I've been following from Mr. Tuna's presentation, the expectation by Turkey is that there is a concrete step being undertaken by Iraq when it comes to counterterrorism. Unless there's a concrete counterterrorism effort and step taken by Iraq, the articles of the agreements will not be that ready to put into practice. This is what I sort of interpret. This is what I interpret. So the priority is of counterterrorism efforts, and then comes second, and certainly development road and trade and commerce is also equally important by both countries. And the visa is also important. How would Turkey approaching to the resolution of visa-related problems or challenges? This is also very important by the Iraqi people's point of view. So these need to be addressed. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm interrupting your words. I think this can be also looked into through the questions too, because we need to correct some of the perceptions here too. both in the closed meetings that you had or and in the conversations that we have among ourselves, we would always talk with you. You may also recall that these perceptions may need to be corrected. Let me ask you, why is Iraq being quite hesitant in officially announcing PKK as a terrorist organization? Yes, we know that PKK is now defined as a banned organization. Allow me to answer this. You may recall that in one of the meetings, this question was actually asked in one of the meetings. They said that they could go in phases because we will be, if they would refuse to being seen as refugees in camps, then we would also take due steps. Because how will the PKK be, will the decisions be practiced or not? Will the PKK accept to being defined as refugees, as to be suggested by Iraqi officials? Because if these are the camps and for the refugees, and here is where you can be located. Because either the UN units will be taking them to in line with the definitions. There will be the camps where the refugee groups can be taken, and that's where PKK could be asked to leave. And Iraq, I think, is quite serious in that. And after this is offered to PKK, then they will see how PKK will behave. I think it's also important step and quite a good progress, which is welcomed by Turkey, that PKK is a banned agreement. And this is in fact, the most important reason why the other 26 topics have been there to have a memorandum of understanding upon. I believe that this has been a good path and which will accelerate the strengthening of the improvement of the relations. How does the Iraqi people perceive this? Certainly they see it as a foreign component, and they do not welcome the PKK presence there. PKK presence is not welcomed by the Iraqi people because Iraqi people have been harmed. Certainly, Iraqi people and public is not favoring the presence of PKK. It's a component, it's an unwanted and foreign component there. But the Iraqi people's priority is different than the priorities of Turkey. The priority is water and the development project and then terrorism. So that's the last. But certainly it's not the PKK. There is this Daesh and there are some other groups under the red bulletin. But Turkey's expectation is counterterrorism, then the development road, and comes water. And water is the latest, that's the last in the list of the priority list of expectations. But to see it in the right perspective, I think it will be through the think tanks' role. The centers, the think tank centers should have, and we will be sharing this with the public, saying that all these topics are of complementary nature and none of them is much more prioritized than the other, because people here are only listening. How do they listen it? Through the foreign media, and they've been listening to different parties and different sides' voices. So it creates a confusion, as you have said a minute ago. So this creates a kind of a tension, because it's sort of, for instance, the president has mentioned about the meetings with Sunnis and Shiites. No, if not with they have been sitting with the Sunnis, but not with the Shiites. For instance, why the Iraqi flag was there or not. So the presence, so the knowledge on the protocol, it may not always be there. So the public and the people may not always know these details. So whose responsibility could it be to increase the awareness and to correct some of the perspectives? So it could be through the think tanks to share with the public on how things could be perceived and how it could be shaped. So it's our duty. If you could wrap it up. No, this is pretty much it. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share my views with you. So as a last point, the Iraqi side is also quite sincere in this. It shouldn't look like the previous strategic agreement. It needs to be activized. And if it sort of gathers dust on the shelves, just like it did back in 2019, it shouldn't, 2009, it shouldn't be. And the government to be elected after to replace the current government after the elections, will they also be having the same approach? So only if this agreement is activized and some concrete steps are taken when it comes to counterterrorism, water, or development road, this will instill a confidence and trust in the environment. When I say environment, I mean the public. And sometimes the agreements are signed, and sometimes they may gather dust on the shelves. And with the new administration coming, they may just remain there on the shelf as it is. So it needs to be institutionalized, is what you mean. Am I correct? Yes, this is exactly what I mean. Thank you so much. So in each panels, in each sessions, we see these, and you have also shared the overall frame quite well, and you are in Baghdad, and all as you are responsible and you are representing the think tank in Baghdad, and this is not something new for you. You've been there, you know Turkey quite well as the back of your palm, and you know the perceptions here in Turkey and in Baghdad. So this was a comparative of the perceptions from both sides, from both parties. So Iraq is quite happy when it comes to water, but quite happy and quite pleased with the development road project. But there are some question marks whether it will be brought to a level of concrete steps, and also question marks when it comes to water. And there was an interesting point. Mohammed Shadals, right and after the government being replaced, because we know that there is this early election being mentioned. Mr. Mohammed, will they be replaced? Mehmet Shah Sudani is receiving a lot of support from the politicians and from the people and from the public. I will ask you to go further into details on this. I've taken down my notes, but now I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Ziryan Rojhelati, Director of Ruda Research Center, but I will come back to you with the details. Now, the second part is, as you know, the second visit continued in Erbil. So it has been covered in Erbil, and the perception in Erbil Erbil will be discussed now. We will be hearing from Mr. Ziryan, who knows the region quite well, a very good friend of ours, close friend of ours. He is the director of Ruda, the Iraqi Kurdistan regional regions. This is where Ruda Research Center is located, and we share a lot of views. We exchange views with Ziryan, and I think it was one of the surprises of the visit, because earlier the expectation was that Turkish President Erdoğan would be visiting Baghdad only, but Erbil was a surprise. And we know that there were some reactions as well. The flags in Erbil, the Erbil Castle, having a Turkish flag, and there were some reactions as well. But we will get into the details. We will be hearing the details from Zirian, our good friend, good old friend. And how was this meeting? How was this visit seen and perceived by the people? Baghdad's visit and the press release by Erdoğan prior to his visit focused on the possibility to, and he said that he was going and he was visiting to eliminate the problems between Baghdad and Erbil. So there was the perception. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you for the invitation. I have listened to the previous details and sentences. Before starting, I would like to briefly make an evaluation, if I may have a brief introduction to the importance of this visit. The existing clashes in the world taking into account all these, where the regional problems are on the surface, we see that the bilateral relations between Turkey and Iraqi government, Iraq is quite meaningful among all the regional problems and challenges. In the long term, I believe that this will bear fruit. I think it will be a balancing factor, both from the viewpoint of Iraq, but also from the viewpoint of establishing Iraq's foreign policy. For instance, the tension between Israel and Iran, and especially in Europe, the Ukraine and being attacked, an invasion of Ukraine by Russia and China, and in the region, all these different problems. Among all these things continuing, we see that there is a positive development in terms of the bilateral relations between the two countries. And Iraq is an important player in the region to impact the developments in the region. And the PM and is also trying and steps to improve relations with Europe, and also some other steps to improve relations with Turkey. This is quite a good step by Iraqi Prime Minister al-Sudani. As you know, there were four gates. Baghdad's gates to Khorasan. What the other gate was opening to Basra, and the other one was also another gate to Damascus. This is a historical detail that I wanted to share to say that from a historical point of view, when in thousands of years ago, Baghdad was being established with these gates to emphasize how it is all interrelated. It's never existing on its own. There, and Iranians were there, and the army was also managed and administered by Turks, and also Kurds were there in the Ottoman era. So it was always interwoven. So all these in Baghdad, everyone existed. Every variety of different circles always existed. So it's based on the philosophy of existence of a variety of different cultures. Turks, Iranians, Kurds, and all the circles or all communities coexisted in the establishment of Baghdad city itself in history. So this is the correct approach. And Turkish President Erdoğan's visit to Baghdad is bringing to front 3 points. One of this, from the viewpoint of PM al-Sudani, it's a success story because there will be elections to be held in 2025. If PM will be there, and he will be highlighted with this success of this visit. And also, this is another success from the viewpoint of President Erdoğan. As we know that there is this zero problem was the title of the foreign policy motto summarized by the Turkish government. But so improvement, and this is quite a good opportunity to make things as close as to the motto of zero problem, or and also from the viewpoint of the referendum after the crisis experienced with Turkey. So with this initiative, with this step, the relations are being repaired. So improvement is there. 26 memorandum of understandings have been mentioned about, but as you know, the agreements here, what makes them meaningful is that certainly this is of non-binding nature. It's not as if they're non-binding, but what's important here is that these will need to be turned into concrete steps. I'm neither very optimistic nor very pessimistic. 5 of them are closely related with economy, especially when it comes to the region. These economic relations of northern Iraq and between Turkey, the economic relations have always existed. Now this will be further improved. 4 of these topics out of this 5 is focusing more on security issues. Trade-related activities have always existed. Certainly this can be improved, and there's room for improvement there, as it's crucial for Turkey, especially during the time of economic crisis, also for Iraq as well. And development project is quite assertive, quite strong there. And how could this be made into concrete steps? Bears some question marks, because every PM has their own projects. For instance, there was a project between Iraq and China, and there were many ministers and governors paid a visit to China, but when they returned back in Iraq, there were protests, and the government was replaced, and this agreement has remained as it is. And Kazemi, during the term of Kazemi, there was this Eastern project with the Sunni Arabian countries, this economic project. They have initiated and launched this project, but when Kazemi left, the project also remained as it is. So in the future, Mohammed Shia al-Sudani, in his second term, will he be working? Will he be elected as prime minister or not? Sudani is on some of the circles here state that Sudani was only elected based on and thanks to the votes. If he wishes to remain so, the first prior to the elections, he should resign from his duties 6 months earlier than the elections. So this is what they say. So this brings along with itself some question marks as to the implementation of this. And there's this also other port project that needs to be completed first, and also the terrorism in the Sunni regions, they need to be eliminated, and the political crisis with the Kurdistan region, they need to be also removed, also they need to be resolved also. Sometimes, as you know, these groups, in Shiite groups, there are certain groups that are not even under the control of PM. For instance, because they want to. Sometimes we hear the prime minister always says that all the issues need to be diplomatically resolved. Could we move on to Erbil related points as well, because we have time limitation? Well, these are all very well related with Erbil. Yes, you are right. If we cannot move on to Erbil issues without talking this, because I'm sure there will be some questions, and I will be asking some questions to you on this. The Erbil leg of the visit is the most interesting point here is the referendum. In the post-referendum, the deteriorating relations are now being repaired and they are being improved with the visit by the president and President Erdoğan's meeting with Barzani, and as you know, KYB, and as you know, there are some problems with the, and we know that there are some ministers with the KDP from Kurdistan Democratic Party, which from the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan, PUK, was there, and the flag issue here has created two circles. One of them has just welcomed it, the presence of the Turkish flags, as a warm gesture. It's quite a symbolic one. It's an important topic. There are circles welcoming this because between the more than 1,000 years between Turks and Kurds, taking into consideration, the presence of the Turkish flags was warmly welcomed, but also there was another approach, especially in Süleymaniye, in Iraq, why Turkey was so symbolically there were such gestures. There were some criticism there as well, and the presence of these. But from a general point of view, both for Erbil and for Baghdad, this was of complementary. This visit was, and these two cities were of complementary nature. And for the entirety of Iraq and for Kurdistan region, and also for Turkey, I must emphasize how important it is for all the parties. Thank you so much. I will be asking some questions to you. Make sure that you're ready for my challenging questions because I have taken down my questions. Thank you so much for these. And from the viewpoint of Turkey and from the third major group in Iraq, there's Turkmens, as you know, and I'd like to give the floor to Selçuk Bacalan, and he is a senior expert there, and he focuses on Turkmen studies from ORSAM, Center for Middle Eastern Studies. He knows, and he's been following the Turkmen point of view from the Turkish foreign policy's view, and he's been sharing with us the perceptions of Turkmen, and I would like to ask him this question because, as you know, President Erdoğan has held another meeting from Turkmens, a separate meeting with Turkmens, where every segment, every Turkmen representative group was there, but especially all those circles that was perceived as being distant groups to Turkey was also present during this meeting. So it's almost like establishment of the Turkmen coordination frame was being established. So I don't think this is quite in line with the policies that we're used. So what kind of gossips have been there? Because we know that you are there in the Turkmen, and I'd like you to pay attention to the time limitation of 15 minutes, but we'd like to hear the perspective, those of Turkmens. Thank you so much. Just as my other colleagues and friends here, I'd like to start my words by means of celebrating 23rd of April, the National Sovereignty and Children's Day, and President Erdoğan's visits to Iraq and how this was perceived by Turkmens. I'd like to mention about this under three topics. One of them is the joint there is the joint thread of terrorism, which is the security aspect of it, and the second aspect will be economy, and other part is Turkmens being representation. So how Turkmens and to what extent Turkmens are being represented in the politics, in Iraqi politics. As we know, security issues in Turkey has been continuing for the last 40 years, and not only causing lives and many lives, but also the economy has been shaken. So in the last 40 years, Turkey has been fighting against terrorism. So what has happened as to as we see Turkey having a different dimension here in 2023. We can see, probably it wouldn't be wrong if we say that terrorism and security issues have always been on the top agenda and top priority of Turkey. The most important and the most highest threat has been from PKK terrorist organization. And the national security of Turkey is located where, if we want to ask the question, then this is the closest proximity is the country with the border of 378 kilometers of the border that we share with Iraq, and on the northern part of Iraq is where we have seen PKK being located. And I have made an investigation in 2022. The attacks, PKK attacks from Iraq, northern Iraq, in 2022, the number of the attacks, PKK attacks, was increasing from 905 to 1,045. So certainly the statistics and the numbers are quite obvious as to show how Turkey's national security was under attack. And certainly Turkey has been also addressing this common terrorist problem with Iraq, and Turkey has mentioned the need to declare and officially announce PKK as the terrorist group. And Mohammed al-Sudani has visited Turkey, and this was also mentioned by President Erdoğan's press meeting. And because this was Erdoğan has stated his expectation that PKK be announced and acknowledged as the PKK as terrorist organization. We know that PKK is as you know that Iraq has its sovereignty and certainly the most stable neighbor Iraq has is Turkey. And originating from the northern Iraq, Turkey has been seeing these attacks, and Iraq here in the Article 7th of Iraqi Constitution, it reads that Iraq's neighboring countries from Iraqi territorial, any attack is banned, is prohibited. However, starting as of 2003, Iraq has been quite worn out because of the clashes and the wars, and certainly in the northern part of Iraq, the lack of authority has been at its max. And could you also mention about how this affects Turkmens yes, I'd like to also mention about this. That's why this visit has focused on a very serious, quite a good, serious agreement on security. There have been some security summits earlier, and this security summit was held in Baghdad in March 14th in 2024, where PKK was officially announced as the banned organization. And after the signing of this memorandum of understanding, and Turkey's expectations or wishes was that PKK should be announced as the official terrorist organization. However, even the fact that it was announced as banned organization was warmly welcomed. And this is seen as a phase. So the expectation soon is that the Iraq could and perhaps would be announcing it as the officially recognized terrorist organization. And Iraq has signed this agreement because Iraq has seen that PKK's presence has been sort of going towards the south as well, not limited to the northern parts. And Turkey has been the target of the terrorist attacks, and there has been the claw and lock operations in the mountainous part of Iraq. PKK has been there, and along with the operations against the mountainous locations, PKK has started going towards the southern Iraq, for instance, to Süleymaniye, to Kifri, and Chemchomal, and there's this Kirkuk. This is quite sensitive for Turkey as well, and in Mahmur, also in Sinjar, and close to Musul and Tel Afer, there is also the Turkmen population. And in the region, as of 2003, in Iraq, was Sunni and Shiite. They have been approached politically. They have been receiving support from the Gulf, and Shiites they've been starting receiving support from Iran and Turkmens, and Kurds were also there, just on their own, and Turkmens. And in fact, their cultural history, and they are related with Turkey, of course, and Turkey has been openly, quite explicitly supporting Turkmens, and the president has openly and shared how Turkey is standing side by side with Turkmens, and Turkmens' presence have been emphasized not only the political level but also on the social presence. These were all warmly welcomed. And tomorrow we will be Iraqi. This will be the 95th, sorry, it will be the 29th anniversary of the establishment of Iraq Turkmen Front, and that was established back in 1915. And it is announced as Turkey's party. And certainly this is undeniable because Shiites are receiving some support. Sunni people are receiving support from another address, and certainly Iraqi Turkmen Front. They are receiving the fact that they're receiving support from Turkey is nothing like a surprise. And the fact that they are announced as Turkey's party is also paving the way and causing them to stand as an open target for PKK's attacks in 2021, in 2023, and in March 2024 in Kifri, Bayat Ashir, the leader of the tribe, the Turkmen tribe over there, was also murdered by the PKK and has been a martyr. So when it comes to counterterrorism efforts and this agreement, how will this be shaping the relations with Turkmens? Allow me to briefly answer this. Once we take a look at the PKK attacks within Iraq, probably we can clearly see from the sources no ethnicity, no other than Turkmens, no other ethnic groups have been targeted at the social level. I've never seen it from the sources. So therefore, along with this agreement, with the Iraq announcing Iraq as the banned organization, this may mean the elimination of PKK components in the geography locations where Turkmens. So I may probably conclude that this will be a sigh of relief and for Turkmens because they are the targets for PKK. And the other leg, the important part is the presence of economy-related agreements. And the development project is the project for the century. Once we take a look at the route, starting from the Persian Gulf and Nasuriye, and it goes to Necef and Karbala, and then to Baghdad and Beijing, Mosul. And this is the plan. We have seen the route of this development project. Within Iraq, once we take a look at the Mosul and Turkey, the route here shows us, and speaking of Mosul, this is where Turkmen population is quite dense here. So Tarafel, unfortunately, in Saddam's term and in the post-Saddam, it's been a neglected location. Tarafel has been neglected. In post-2014, the Tarafel was also suffering and is suffering from the problem of Daesh. So with the structure, with the infrastructure of this location can be it could be repaired, I believe. You need to give me more time. I think actually, well, your time is quite limited. I will be giving you some 5 minutes further, but everyone has received their fair share of 15 minutes. And Talafar had to suffer from internal displacement of Turkmens. And also there have been some migration as well. And they had to leave the place and they had to migrate to Turkey as well, thanks to the development project. And once it's put into practice and with the inclusion of Qatar and UAE, this project, I believe, will be positively contributing to the establishment of the infrastructure of these Tarafar, and the displaced population may return back. And I believe that the development of Tarafar will only be possible when the displaced population returns back. For instance, if I'm not mistaken, back in 2018 and 2019, the Iraqi Turkmen Front has taken it as a mission to itself to return, starting the campaign of sending or sort of helping the Turkmens go back to Tarafer. So the minimization of the obligation to migrate from Tarafer will be reversed. So another point of this project is, as we know, in Iraq's constitution, no press has mentioned about this. That's why I'd like to voice it here. I think there is a very important article, which is 140, and all the security related challenges will be eliminated, and the social stability will be achieved. Because earlier there was some sort of a imbalance there. But with the implementation of this Article 140, and we know that back in 2007 it was difficult to practice and put this article into action. And I believe, and there is this Ovaköy border. Yes, Article 140 is important, but this is another topic. This needs, I think, 140 article deserves another session. I think there has been a misunderstanding there. I think there is an article, there is a problematic, if the development project is implemented, all the problems there, because the problems over there will be resolved, is what we mean. What I mean is, if certainly the Article 140 is another topic, but our particular title of the session is the visit. And there are some sensitivities. No, what I think there is a misunderstanding, because allow me to explain it here. The development project here will be bringing the stability, the good benefits for the entirety of the Iraqi society. Just as you have said, Ankara-Erbil dialogue is important. This will bring advantage, and it will bring benefits to everyone. And our colleague Selçuk Bacalan is saying exactly the same thing. On the contrary, not going into the sensitivities, but is also bringing a solution and bringing stability and sensitivities of Article 140. Now I'd like you to please wrap it up. I understand that I might have exceeded the 15-minute time. This is your last sentence, sir. Iraqi Turkmen's political representation level and how this is to be affected by this visit. And President Erdoğan has also mentioned about, especially during the Sudani meeting, the president has mentioned about the Turkmen's representability. Sudani cabinet being replaced, being changed, and with the early election. So maybe with the Turkmen's relation with Turkey, with the bridge that they have. Maybe you are using your 5 minute right now. I will be now moving. I will not be returning back to you because you've been using your time. Maybe this is, yeah, that could probably be the solution. As you know, Sudani government, there is, it's been mentioned that there will be the early election and they may be changed. Along with the signing of these projects, I'm talking about the Sudani particular Sudani. So along with the success of this project and all these agreements will be so beneficial and will be so positive in the Sudani government's office term being prolonged. Therefore, I certainly believe that the agreements signed and the economic development and at least more than maybe one or more Turkmeni minister can be there in the cabinet, Sudani government, and there's certainly the Turkmen population in Erbil parliament, especially in the parliament, Erbil parliament, Turkmens are represented by 5 seats, and There, we also have a minister that's in charge of and Barzani's delegation meeting and welcoming president, and there's a Turkmen minister is there. Aydın Maruf was there, and as you may also know, Iraq and and Barzani has also assigned a Turkmeni advisor for himself as well. And recently, Iraqi
Hocam son bir dakikan haberin olsun.
High Federal Court. This is your last minute. This is the federal. Yes, it's my last minute. And in the Erbil Parliament, there was the minority quota, and the Turkmens are represented within this quota. And certainly, this has somehow saddened the Turkmens. But with the visit by President Erdoğan, the rumors is that the Turkmens might be in the next elections in June. There will be the parliamentary elections in June. Hopefully, maybe more than one Turkmen will be there represented in the parliament. Thank you so much. And these are the expectations by the Turkmens. Thank you for having given me the word, and we have used up your 5 minutes. Now I will be giving everyone 3 to 4 minutes. We have 3 questions. In fact, one of them is more like an interpretation, and I will be reading them. And I don't know whether there are some questions in the YouTube. I don't think there is any other question through YouTube, but there are 3 questions we have received from Zoom. One of them is to Ziryan, another one is for Hüseyin, and one is for Mr. Tuna. I will be reading loud these questions. And another, Mr. Yasin, one of the participants, has asked a question for everyone and for myself, because time limitation is important here. And there's a comment made, a general comment. All these agreements to be put into practice, Iraq, there needs to be a written document to be sent to Turkey first. So this agreement to be put into practice, Nefsi Saadun says that. And now allow me to read the questions. The last question is for Mr. Hussein. In 2030, this development project is planned to be put into practice. What kind of obstacles are awaiting and what kind of challenges are there awaiting us? And the second question is for Mr. Ziryan. In Iraq, the Shiites and the political groups and the opposition groups, what are their perspective and what are their views of this visit and this process, the relations between the two countries? And the other question is Sudani governments and what kind of initiatives in the internal, I mean, domestic and foreign initiatives by Sudani has brought this visit to being made concrete. And how could you be evaluating all these bilateral improvement of this relations? And other question is to myself, what kind of joint interests are there? My question will be to Ziryan. My question is, in my visits to Erbil earlier, as I was always talking to you, Turkey, Erbil, and Baghdad, we were always talking as if Turkey, because the relations that Turkey has with the central government, does this somehow bother or sometimes cause Erbil to sort of have a concern? And my first question is, this visit by President Erdoğan, did this visit eliminate the concern? And could Erbil be a part when it comes to the development project? do you think Erbil can support? And my third question is, when it comes to energy, and between Turkey and Iraq, there are currently the petroleum pipeline is closed, and this oil pipeline here being opened, has this ever been mentioned about? My question to Hussein is, first, other than this 26 memorandum of understandings, you also said that there are some others, like 14 points, upon which there wasn't any agreement signed. What are these and why? And my other question is, in FETÖ schools, regarding the FETÖ schools, and because FETÖ is a terrorist organization, and when it comes to education, there are some agreements that have been made regarding education. So FETÖ schools, where do they stand? You have 3 to 4 minutes to answer all these questions. Now I'd like to give the word to Tuna. Do you need me to read the question? No, there isn't. I have taken down my notes. No need for me to. If you could answer my question. Maybe I can start by means of making a correction. I might have given rise to some misunderstanding because I I didn't, I don't think that it's a precondition for Turkey to take other steps, and Turkey does not see security concrete steps as a precondition for the other projects to continue. And these 26 agreements, I think it's all separated, but what I mean is I'd like to give an example. For instance, tourism prone regions, but because of the villages where PKK's presence is there, it's not possible to make an investment for tourism investments. For instance, since development road project is important, but in Sincan, PKK's presence there, it constitutes a problem for the development and other investments to continue. As Selçuk has mentioned, the presence of PKK terrorist organization there has moved to proceed to the cities as a result of the operations held by Turkey. And in Erbil, for instance, if a Turkish construction or the contractor is much easier for the Turkish contractor to work in Erbil in comparison to Süleymaniye. So if I may once again emphasize that it's not a precondition, but it's for all the agreements to cover a certain progress. It's not like it's as if it's a condition or a precondition. However, it's only a natural result of the progress. The PKK presence and the security issues, or any security issue, is first to be eliminated from a region, for the region to be invested, or for the contractors to feel and to proceed with their activities. And also, El Sudani, prior to his prime ministry, depending on his expertise and his experience from the business world, he's quite experienced in that sense. Prior to his term in prime ministry, when he was here in Turkey, in the industrial zones, he was quite interested in the industrial zone. He wanted to see these as a development model. He wanted to interpret, and he wanted to take these as and it's important for us that we can say that. We can say that he wanted to take this model to the region as well. And because Turkey is undertaking the industry activities, and Turkey sets a model in that region. For the Iraq, development and having been worn out because of the wars or clashes or Iraq has its own path to cover in terms of development. So this industrial zones can set a good example. And Daesh being given an end, and in 2000, post 2003 Iraq and foreign policy has been built on equality, and the multi relations were all emphasized. Maybe Iraq failed on this philosophy with Daesh, and in fact, Haider al-Abadi's along with him, and there was the acceleration of the improvement of relations with Turkey. And Sudani, PM Sudani has undertaken some good steps related to this, especially related with 2018 with 2019. So these are good steps. Thank you. Now I'll move on to Hüseyin. And there is a question from Zoom. If you could answer my questions plus Zoom's question in 3 minutes. Thank you. Not even in 3 minutes. It won't even take 3 minutes, I promise. And no problem. There's no problem when it comes to development project because all the parties are, all the components in Iraq, they place and attribute high level of importance to the actualization and materialization of this project from North, from the other regions. They really would like to see this being materialized for their income from trade relations, and all the circles will be benefiting from this. Allow me to answer these in line with the question. I wouldn't always like to separate all these ethnic groups like Arab, Turks, Shiite, Sunni, or Yazidi. I do not normally count these separately, but because it's with your question, also in line with your question, also 26 agreements or memorandum of understandings prior to the visit by Erdoğan, the spokesperson of PM has said, because he has earlier stated prior to the spokesperson has said that it would be 40 topics for which there will be the MOUs being signed. That's why I said 40, and I can learn this. Also in Turkish, maybe there was the spokesperson, maybe there was the spokesperson, they have mentioned, maybe, is it correct that the PM spokesperson has stated that PKK will be considered as refugees first? Is that so? Is that correct? Yes, it's correct. Maybe because they will be presented a choice, because they will be presented as an identity of the refugee, so that they will have to be leaving the premises there, because there's a set of rules by the UN, and if they are defined as refugees there, and in fact all these meetings, it was during your presidency first, as they said it. In fact, the spokesperson for the PM, just like the organization, because there are some
Irak'ın istikrarına da zarar verebilir. Sadece Türkiye'de Irak da zarar görebilir içerisinden.
the People's Mujahideen, just like it's been with the People's Mujahideen organization, right? Yes, because it needs to, for instance, in Sinjar, it's quite sensitivity, both geographically and ethnicity over there is quite sensitive. That's why they would never like it to create some tension. That's why there is this phase by phase. If we could first provide them an opportunity at the political level, if we could present them the identity of being a refugee, but only when force is, if it goes and if it comes to a level where it requires force. So because we see some activities by IŞİD as well, like Daesh as well. And you have mentioned about March 14th, the FETÖ schools. The FETÖ schools are, I think they are in quite rare. It's not as, there is this, the foundation, Maarif Foundation is the base. The number of the students are now increasing on the Maarif Foundation, but not on the other schools. If I may, and there needs to be the embassy here, for instance. For instance, there needs to be some media, and the media should say that the diplomas provided by the FETÖ schools will no longer be recognized. So the social media can also promote the increase in the number of the students in Maarif Foundation other than the FETÖ schools. And Zirian, and if I may give you this, I was probably the panelist limiting time and adhering to my time limitation. If I may make a correction, the Erbil Parliament was the used word, and Kurdistan regional government, and based on the Iraqi constitution, certainly there are some sensitivities, just as we have been hanging Turkish flags on Erbil Castle. We have been there, so we're also expecting from our friends to show sensitivity to the use of some of the concepts. Yes, I have been careful. We all have been careful. Yes, I know. Thank you. And the Article 140, it's certainly is a reality of the constitution. In Iraq constitution, there are many other articles. There are many facade of these that we want, and whenever there's an amendment in the Iraqi constitution, whenever they say that they'd like to remove the constitution article, when it's welcomed by the entire Iraqi people, then we will also be in that line. But if it's there, then that means, and I must emphasize that it's an article that demands respect. It's not about, no, we're not. I think we will need more than 3 days, other than 3 minutes, if we go into the discussion of the presence of Article 140. I think it was misunderstood. What Mr. Selçuk said is this: the development project will be facilitating, and it will be bringing an opportunity to the solution of the problems. Let's not even go back there. Well, this article is there, but let's say that it's expired. It's no. That's not even. It's not even politically expired. Oh no. Well, I believe that if it's there, it means that it's there. It's not like, well, I am the boss here, that's probably why. Well, yeah, I kind of understand that. Well, certainly. But maybe we can unofficially also talk, is what you mean, right? Yes, certainly. Well, going back to this perception from Shiite, and how can we approach this? The first one is the official view. Once we hear the statements from the official figures, official names, for instance, the previous PMs and the National Security Advisor, Kasım Araci and Mohammed Sudani, and once we hear from them, they're certainly in favor of improving the relations with Turkey. And there are some other Shiite groups, the views of which are, for instance, these are armed. We know that they are much more distant to Turkey, especially Turkey is sometimes sectarian, due to sectarian reasons and also due to security reasons. Turkey we know that some of the Bashika camp they want this to be evacuated, and so there's this, they see Turkey's presence in and having Turkey's presence in Iraq, they see that as a factor to deepen the sectarian differences. So they kind of remain distant. And relations between Turkey and Erbil. And we believe that this visit is positively contributing to the balancing of this relation. So this is quite a balanced and correct approach. And PM Sudani has been also in favor and has been quite active and quite active in improving the relations with Turkey. This balancing is important, and it deserves support. That's why the visit to Erbil is meaningful in terms of balancing the relations with, and of course, how the ceremony in Erbil, and it has sort of reopened another term. Erbil's development, whether Erbil can be a partner in the development road project. And it's the Kurdistan region through which Turkey can go through to Persian Gulf. And it's through the Kurdistan region's land that this road goes through. Either the Kurds will be excluded through some concrete efforts, or just as Mr. Hussein has said, all the parties should be included. So certainly what I'm saying is quite obvious here. I'm only saying that this is, with the inclusion of every circle need to be there. Certainly, as we all wish that everyone will be winning, and it will be a win-win situation from the establishment of security and fulfillment of trade volumes. And certainly, Erbil is no exception. And this is the connection road. Sihela is 12 kilometers from Sihela to Ovakköy. It's from the Kurds region. That's why Erbil needs to be included and should be included in this project. And in terms of energy, there isn't a new development there. Kirkuk and pipeline and Kurdistan pipeline being bypassed. We have heard of this of these possibilities. There was a new statement made by the government, especially when it comes the statements made by the Ministry of Petroleum, and they said that this would not be realistic. I know the crisis here is continuing. We don't know. Hopefully, this will be all overcome as well. And certainly there is a good and positive atmosphere, and we should always be ready to prevent any any gray shadow over this positive atmosphere. As the different institutions, as yourself over there and Hussein in Baghdad, ourselves in Ankara, as the think tank institutions, and now we are united in the viewpoint that we should be also shaping the views of the public as well, informing them. And Selçuk has asked for one statement, so we will give him that. Ziryan's intervention here, I certainly respect your intervention and your comments. Ziryan, for myself and because he's representing the institution and himself and the institution he's representing, you are all very precious for us. On the conceptual, certainly we're not evaluating each other from concepts, from the viewpoints of concepts. You're all quite valuable. And it's the Turkmens group and Turkmens politicians. If we take a look at them, their territorial integrity is highly pronounced and very frequently pronounced by our Turkmen politicians. So I know that Iraqi constitution articles are adhered at the maximum by Turkmens, if I may also emphasize this. I know that there are some, maybe we should leave it to the academicians of law when it comes to the gaps within the constitution. Well, it's also great pleasure for me to see that we are able to, and we are coming to a consensus, and with the touch of humor here. In fact, we are sort of forcing the limits of the conceptual definitions as well. This is also very nice. I'd like to extend my gratitude to everyone, each and every one of you here, for your valuable presence. All the statements, all the sentences uttered here has been beneficial for myself, through which I had the opportunity to learn a lot. It's been quite beneficial for myself. I've taken down my notes. I hope it's been good for yourselves as well. From this point onward,
çeviri konusunda
so we
yardım
will
eden
try to
Pınar Hanım,
have more of this, and I'd like to also thank
buradan
our
kendisine de
translator, and thank you
oldukça
so
yorduk.
much.
Biraz da
Thank
affına
you.
sığınıyoruz. Panelistlerin yanı sıra
Oh, and
var. Hem YouTube'dan hem
we'd like to
Zoom üzerinden. Onlara da
also
değerli katkıları bize
thank the participants from Zoom and YouTube, and we'd like to thank everyone and all the questions asked
bizlerle
as
beraber
well.
daha fazla
All your participation here has been of great value, and we highly encourage you to meet us here on another occasion, on another online Zoom meeting. And we all hope, as ORSAM, that the relations between the two countries will be further improved and we'd like to also extend our gratitude for translation. Thank you
iyi
so much.
akşamlar. İyi akşamlar.